about getting our kids involved and doing stuff like this, right? My dad was teaching me how to do stuff, and I got a lot of experience. And but sometimes you didn't want to come back and work after work, and real estate investment ends up being a oftentimes a 5 to 9 job versus in conjunction with your 9 to 5. So if you're a contractor, you're somebody who's handy, you're probably doing construction 9 to 5, and then you're doing more maintenance or construction, 5 to 9 afterwards. My mom obviously couldn't do that, but she would go and she would start doing stuff at a house, and it would stress my brother and me out. And then it would force us to go and do more stuff before she goes and messes stuff up. So she would just start, like, have you seen those short-term TikToks or whatever, where the wife or the girlfriend starts just taking a drill, making noise as if though she's screwing something in, and the husband gets up all stressed and is like, okay, fine, I'll do it. All right. So
Okay.
I feel like she was doing that with us as her kids, and that's kind of that I talked about. I didn't talk about that, but I talked about her and her influence on me. So that was kind of the deal. But yeah.
So how I started renovating my basement was my wife started smashing walls down, and
That's motivating.
that's how I renovated my basement. So kind of like what you're saying, except she wasn't pretending. She like smashed a couple walls down, and then she was like, "Clean it up, or I'm gonna keep going." And I was like, "God damn it!" And that's how she can only. The worst part is she can demo things. Like she's we've done a lot. Like one of our houses, we have to like we bought like our first property that we bought together was a semi. It was like a smoker, like nightmare. I mean, we bought a bunch of flips together, but like this is one that we were gonna move in, and it was like like thick orange. Like you could your nostrils were burning just going in and out of that house. And she helped out a lot when we were doing like the actual hands-on work sort of stuff, like painting and some of the stuff that was easy for us to do. And man, that was like the biggest mistake I ever made because now she knows how to break stuff and like be part of, like be part of stuff. So, and she's good at breaking stuff. Like she's not just like randomly swinging a hammer. She understands like you shake the drywall and the screws will come off, and she could do some damage. That woman, and then I have to
That's
fix it.
funny. That's amazing because you know what? If you ever take people, like if you take your friends, or if anybody's doing a flip and they just happen to need to do any kind of demolition. If you bring your friends to that kind of experience, it's amazing how nuanced it is for some people to just be able to just unleash and just break things. Breaking things is not something that a lot of people have the experience to do en masse. So having that experience is quite cathartic for some people. Personally, I think demolition is great physical exercise. If I could do demolition for a week straight and it's productive, it's great because one, you feel good because it's productive. It's going towards your project that you're progressing, and you feel good afterwards. Yeah, it goes into a lot of things, but on the note of the wife, I think it's a great thing, and it probably is very helpful for your relationship, I would imagine, in terms of if you're ever having any kind of like tension. You're like, baby, I'll take you to work with me. Let's go break stuff. You'll feel better. I'll feel productive, and like everything will be good. So I think it's a great outlet, and it's simple stuff to do. A lot of things in construction actually are pretty straightforward if you think about it.
It is. Everything is honestly, as long as you just follow the process, right? If you could follow the process and do the steps in the right order, it's all pretty easy. Especially what I find, like even we could talk about this for DIYers, is like the the amount of technology that is going into stuff now, like even tiling, right? Like the tiling clips and stuff like that. Man, like learning how to mix mud to that cement to that right consistency based on the size of your tile was crucial. Was crucial. And then like now they just get the clips, like perfect.
Yeah,
Per-
exactly. Just you can put the clips on, step all over the floor everywhere just to make sure it's padded down. The clips will prevent it from sinking
Yeah,
down. You're
yeah.
good. Yeah,
It just holds it all in place. Oh man.
yeah, yeah. No, it is excellent. Now there are a lot of tools that make things easy, and this is where honestly, a lot of work that needs to be done. I find it's more enjoyable when you have the right tools to do it. Otherwise, it feels like if you're not good at because you can't be good at everything, so you're going to need some practice, you're going to need to master craft. But if you have certain tools, it just makes everything so much easier, just very much like the clips that you're making. Or even if you think about the how people do plumbing nowadays. I see some people still going and buying copper pipe, and I don't understand when you're buying so much of it. Why do you don't just run some kind of PEX? We use Worsbo, and honestly, it's so easy to run. It's just so easy to do. It now falls into the same work category in terms of the apprenticeship labor as electrical. Just fishing pipe, fishing wire, right? And just run it all
Hmm.
along.
Yeah.
No
So
effort, you know what to work with.
I grew up with copper, like welding and soldering and stuff like that personally. And then yeah, so we use Worsbo and ProPack and ProPress.
Mm.
So ProPress is like copper fittings that you could press onto copper. No welding, and it's like perfect every time.
Oh, that's like the what do they call it? They have a different version of it that they sell, which is just like the pressure clip thing, right?
Yeah, like the crimps. Yeah, it's kind of like the crimps, except it's for copper. They go over top of like the copper pipe, and then you
Yeah.
put it in the fitting, and it'll sink it into place, and that's it, and it's set.
Is that just for the ends, or is that also for the joints?
No, all the joints, everything, everything.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it a lot more expensive? I've never worked with that.
It's expensive. It's obviously it's no different than like you buying Wurzbo bits and like Wurzbo pieces and stuff like that. It's very similar, except you get to use the exist. You don't have to do any adaptation, right? So like, um, if you're like, because I do a lot of apartment buildings, so everything is copper.
Mm.
Everything is so like for me to switch out, like just a valve, we'll use ProPress because we're
Yeah.
gonna take it out and put it back in, right? Because to bleed the whole system or a lot of the system is complicated, and then to weld on that starting piece for Wurzbo, right? You always need that starting piece. But with ProPress, you can ProPress that starting piece.
Yeah. So I'm assuming the process is a lot easier. Is there any reason why you would have to use some kind of copper over any of the PEX or the Wurzbo materials?
No, there's not a reason why you would use one over the other. They're all just similar systems, except this is like a copper system that you can just tie into anything, right? Like you can just like it's really good for like imagine you have like the main valve in your water line, right? Like to shut off the main water to your unit, right? To like the unit above and the downstairs, and that thing's damaged. So you got to take it apart, drain the whole system, and then solder on those two pieces in order to convert to Wurzbo or PEX. But ProPress, I could just clamp on the new fittings, and then that's it. Like it's done. So there's like it's like that kind of hybrid. If I'm gonna redo a whole like bathroom or whatever, then yeah, I would just switch right to Wurzbo or PEX because that system is simple. Because I'm gonna do a lot of it. But if I'm doing a small section or um, you know, there's a lot of water to drain, like to drain an entire building, for example, to solder one small piece to make sure I have the water clean in the pipes so that I could get the proper adhesion. Just ProPress, man.
I can see how that would be. I can see how that would be beneficial to you. On top of that, if you think about it, we have had people complain about if you have the PEX or the Wurzbo coming out of like in a visible area, let's say under a vanity or something, it just doesn't stay completely straight. It's not as aesthetically nice. Actually, the
Hmm.
copper certain benefits to it too. How is it fair? Because one of the main reasons why we struggle with water almost entirely was because of if any heating function happened over the water and pipes would let the water in them, they burst. And I basically, if the people are saying that water flow, you'll never have any bursting of the pipe, even if there's expansion and it freezes. So that's still a bit of a problem with that type of cover.
Sorry, hold on. You're turning robotic on me. Let me Let's see here, 1 second. Hello? Yeah, it's just robotic. Hold on. I'm just gonna pause my recording.